So today we're going to work on making some shelves for the work truck. Put in some organizer bins on the toolbox side of the cab on the back. You guys can take a look at the current setup. So we're looking to put some shelves in here across the bottom. We'll get some organizer bins to replace these kind of things. Then we'll get some smaller pull-out drawers along the top. Might end up doing a kind of system that's divided to organizer bins on the left and larger storage space on the right side. And I'd still like to keep a couple of these boxes because sometimes we're bringing these totes inside to the job just because they're easy to carry. They have handles and lids on them. We're making everything out of plywood today. We get the table saw with some other tools and cut some wood up and fit it in. Okay, so for our first step, we're just looking at prepping the work area here. So we got everything cleaned out. We got the radio set up there, listening to Neil Young. What we're gonna have to start on here is cleaning out all the debris out of here so we can get nice tight fit for everything. Also, I got a couple of self-tapping screws that are protruding through the other side of the work surface here. So I'm gonna get the grinder and take those off just so they don't stick out into what I'm putting on. Okay, so we got a bucket of hot water and some soap. We're just gonna clean out the dirt from these corners. And it's below 0 degrees here in southern Ontario today, so my guess is I'm gonna be freezing after. Now, one thing I am concerned about is water pooling in the toolbox here, and I don't want any of the wood that we installed to rot over the years. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the drill here, we're gonna put in a couple drainage holes so that any water that pools in the box here is gonna drain down to the lower level. So in the last shot there, you saw us ripping a piece of plywood to put along the bottom of the toolbox here. The first problem that we ran into is it wouldn't fit in as one complete piece. So I cut it right down the middle and fit it in as 2 pieces. Now the next problem you can see is the wood has such a cup in it that we won't be able to get it to fit flush. So what we're going to do is we're going to pre-drill some holes in the 3/8" plywood, and I'm going to put some 5/8" flathead fasteners in the plywood just to get it to sit securely on the bottom and it'll sit nice and flush. That's also why we're using flathead screws, so the head of the screw doesn't protrude into any of the supports that we're going to install later. Okay, so now we got the whole toolbox sheeted in plywood. Now what we'd like to do is set up a couple dividers here so that we can separate one side of the box from the other and build some shelving support in. So we're going to get some brackets and fasteners and screw that into the back there. So now we're going to focus on building the shelf across here, which is simple enough. Just going to take the measuring tape, see how long a piece of wood we need to rip in order to make it a nice tight fit. So it looks like we're about 33.5 inches there. Hopefully we can undo a couple of screws and make it the same on the front here. We'll adjust this divider as we need to make it a nice tight fit. So I prepared the bottom of the shelf here by screwing these furniture braces, and those are for my supports. I went and picked those up at Home Depot. Mind you, they can be pretty expensive, so an alternative to that would be to cut some pieces of wood to fit around the corners, and you'd screw your shelf into that and then screw the pieces of wood into the side there. I use these to save myself a bit of time and to save some space, because once you start filling in pieces of wood, you start losing some square footage in your storage bins there. So for my next step here, I cross cut a 2x4 to fit 33.5 inches, so it'll fit from corner to corner, and I cut 2 pieces so it'll sit front to back. what I did is I screwed them together and ran them through the table saw and put a bunch of saw marks about 1 centimeter in depth or 1.5 centimeters in depth at the exact same spacing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these apart now and I'm going to screw them in so that I've got slots to slide dividers in. So hopefully once I get it all put together, you guys will understand what I mean. So as you can see, we got all the dividers in now. Got these slats cut for each one of these movable pieces, and you just slide them back and forth and they fit in the grooves there. All I've done is notched out the sides so that they fit into the grooves. I got a few spare pieces over on the side and I can adjust them as I need to separate all of my pieces. I got this piece on the front here just to hold everything from falling out. I just screwed that on with some straight flat brackets. It's sturdy enough. I'm not going to be putting anything too heavy in here, so I'm not worried about it falling out. Just had to notch it out so that we can fit the pistons here, and I just cut the last end one off so that we got room for the latch to close. Had I known I would have run into that problem, I either would have moved this divider further to the right or further to the left, but it seems to be working out just fine.